Yeah, I finally found that article that had the Sumerian tablets that they had recently found or uncovered. Of course, this was back in 2009, 2010 when this information came out, and then nobody ever released the tablet data or anything out of it whatsoever, and it got kind of hushed up. And this is an article about it from that time, and one of the first things said about it. I could never find this article before, but it says Sumerians look on in confusion as God creates the world. Now, there's a strange story here, and I never got to verify the tablets and stuff, and I don't know if they've been documented to where they have word for word out like they do in the Etzel site that I may have shown you in some of the other videos. I don't think they're going to even get to that point here. It says, Lord God, creator of all, caught thousands of Sumerian farmers and mathematicians somewhat off guard. Why would that be? Well, the members of the Earth's earliest known civilization, the Sumerians, looked on in shock and confusion some 6,000 years ago as God, the Lord Almighty, created heaven and earth. And I'm guess they're alluding in that somewhat sarcastic to the fact that if you do the Bible lineages all the way back, it only goes to right around 4000 BC, and these date to 3991 BC, so it's right there in that ballpark. And so we know now, of course, there was civilization before then. In fact, Sumerian cities existed before then, but they mention them in the Bible as happening after Adam and Eve or this type of thing, so it shows you a shift. Anyhow, according to recently excavated clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform script, and most of these have pictographs script, which is going to be the earliest writing ever on the planet. Short of their scratch that they have that's like linear A that nobody's deciphered yet. Well, there are guys that have some of it down, but anyhow, short of that, this seems to be the first any intelligible type of script or have any meaning to it whatsoever. According to recently excavated clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform script, thousands of Sumerians, the first humans to establish systems of writing, agriculture, and government, were working on their sophisticated irrigation systems when the Father of all creation reached down from the ether and blew the divine spirit of life into the thriving civilization. I do not understand, reads one ancient line of pictographs depicting the sun, the moon, water, and a Sumerian who appears to be scratching his head. A booming voice is saying, let there be light, but there is already light. It is saying, let the earth bring forth grass, but I am already standing on grass. Everything is already here, the pictographs continue, but we do not need more stars. Historians believe that immediately following the biblical event, Sumerian witnesses returned to the city of Eridu, a bustling metropolis built 1,500 years before God called the appearance of dry land, to discuss the new development. According to reports, Sumerian farmers, priests, and civic administrators were not only befuddled, but also took issue with the face of God moving across the water, saying that he scared away those who were traveling to Mesopotamia to participate in their vast and intricate trade systems. Moreover, the Sumerians were taken aback by the creation of the same animals and herb-yielding seeds that they had been domesticating and cultivating for hundreds of generations. The Sumerian people must have found God's making of heaven and earth in the middle of their well-established society to be more than an annoyance than anything else, said Paul Helland, ancient history professor at Cornell University. If what the pictographs indicate are true, his loud voice interrupted their ancient prayer rituals for an entire week. According to the cuneiform tablets, Sumerian found God's most puzzling act to be the creation from dust of the first two human beings, when they had already been created, and Lord Enki had done so prior to this out of clay himself. These two people made in his image do not know how to communicate. lack skills in both mathematics and farming, and have the intellectual capacity of an infant, one Sumerian philosopher wrote on a tablet. They must be the creation of a complete idiot. Now, this is a story, it's in Science Magazine, and I have to try to find these tablets for y'all, and I'm going to decipher them back myself. I've got the book over here that I can go off of. I can't do it off the top of my head. Never really could that well. But looking through the book, I can do it. And I can probably, if these are normal-sized tablets, I can do a tablet a day maybe. Well, I used to be able to do a tablet a day. Maybe I can get somewhere close to that. Maybe I'll get it humming and stuff. But I have brushed up on the elder Sumerian that leads into Akkadian. But, of course, cuneiform I never even played with. And the pictographs and things not, but I could match and go and match and go. And what you do whenever you do that too, there's sometimes, or a lot of times, there's a multiple words or multiple definitions for a word, right? Like sod could mean high or on top of a mountain or just a mountain. And so you have to look at kind of where it's in context as to where you would put that at and what that would kind of indicate to you, right? And so you have to go through those parts, and then you look at each sentence and you make sense out of it. Surely there's 3 or 4 places in there where it doesn't make great sense until you put the right ones in the right spot. Other ones you might be able to go either way, and so you have to put the whole thing into context. You'll leave that aside. You'll find the whole thing, and then you put it into context and try to figure it out. If you can't figure it out, you put the bland definition in. That's it. So even though you don't put one in that doesn't make sense, but that's it. If all of them could be, you put the bland definition in. You just say mountain. You don't say mountaintop. And you don't say that we're talking about Nin Harsog herself. You just say mountain. But that's the same type of alliteration that you might have out of Jewish type scholarly and stuff. If you've known anything about Jewish script, there's no vowels in there at all, so they're just giving you consonants basically, and some words have 2 consonants stuck together, and you can easily mistranslate that simply if you don't have the transliteration above and below it telling you what the vowels are, which was figured much later. Somebody figured it all out, like I'm telling you, and then they put it down. But scholars have said there could be hundreds, if not thousands, of incorrect assumptions that are in the Bible of words. Quite often don't make it sound like everything's ruined or anything, but quite often the idea is that, well, here and here it means this. So every place that it says that, it means this. Whereas it could be one of 3 or 4 things sometimes, at least 2. And so you have to kind of take that into context. Maybe it doesn't always mean that. And you have those type of things. But I think it's just interesting as hell here. There's an account that they found in the ancient city of Eridu, supposed to have been one, if not the oldest city ever created in the world. And I told you before that they have cities under cities that collapsed. And whenever it was mud bricks before fire brick and so on, and they have it all down to there, well, you can go back as far as something that's saved. And apparently under a few collapsed walls, disintegrating, there are these tablets. And due to the fact that they were burned on fire, something caused this, and it burned, which heated the tablets and cooked them, and the walls collapsed on them and kept them from having any problem, like a shield above them. They were able to be saved. This is the same way that we found all the other 270,000 tablets that we did at and so on, that's been split around the world. Now, Cornell has some of the information from this, but where did the tablets go that was from this excavation and dig? Because quite often there's more than one archaeological group that's in there, and they split stuff. Just like that big bunch I mentioned before. Some of that come to here in the Americas, and is it American University, and there's some that's over in Europe, and there's some that's in Germany from other digs where this people took apart. The French have some from other things too. And then also we found duplicates quite often, and we gave some of those to other museums because here's a duplicate, so you can use those in your displays. You can study those and so on like that, you know. Add to your library. There's no need for us to have 4 copies of the same thing. But I'm going to definitely look into this right after here. I'm just excited I actually finally found this article again to show you that there's a point here where the Sumerians make a mention. Now, I've made a mention a few times before about this, but I was never able to show you some of the things that were said on the tablets. It was only mentioned that there were tablets that mentioned it. And going off mention, I barely mentioned to you before. And some would say not to mention it now, but I'm mentioning it. If you can count the times that I said mention, write it down there at the bottom. Y'all have a great day. Peace.